Polyandry is a concept that is not generally accepted in most cultures around the world. But notwithstanding, polyandry is an ancient practice that has existed for centuries up until monogamy took over. Polyandry, if you don't know, is an aspect of polygamy. So when you talk about polygamy, you're actually talking about polygyny and polyandry and other polys that has got to do with polygamy. But on this occasion, my concentration is going to be on polyandry because in my previous videos, I've spent time talking about polygyny, which is a man having more than one wife, and I did give my personal verdict on that. But again, on this occasion, like I said, I'm talking about polyandry, which is a woman marrying more than one man as husbands. Hello everyone, welcome back to Breakage Barriers. If you're new here, my name is Blessing. What I do here is talk about culture and human habits, most especially culture pertaining to the ancient African tradition. In this day and age, when you hear of one woman marrying more than one man, it's like a taboo, isn't it? Because the present dispensation has come to embrace monogamy as a tradition. So when you pop in that word polyandry, most people in this dispensation will be like, huh? How can a woman have more than one man as husbands? That's crazy. That's unheard of. That's not Christian. And I laugh. What is Christianity and what is living? Polygamy, monogamy are just ways of living. These ways of living, by the way, to Christians who have come to proclaim this monogamy, polygamy existed during the Old Testament era. Most of the Old Testament fathers, like we call them, the patriarchal fathers, embraced, not just embraced, lived out polygamy. Yes, they lived a polygamous lifestyle and they were dedicated in serving God. And guess what? God embraced them. God still walked through these great men like Abraham. Abraham, by the way, if you don't know, had more than one wife. Yes, there's some information that I've gathered that he had up to 3 wives, if not more. Because in that era, the concubines were not counted. Only the wives were counted. The wives are the ones that the man has taken as an approved wife, or shall I say a married wife. The concubines are just there to procreate, have as many children as possible for the man. Because in those days, during the Old Testament time, and like I found in the ancient African era, to be polygamous was to be royal. So when you talk about royalty in the African tradition, you're talking about polygamy, because it was through this polygamy that know if the person was royal or not, from the amount of wives they had, or the amount of husbands they have in case of polyandry, or the amount of children, land, and wealth that they have acquired. That determined how royal that particular clan or king or person was. So like I was saying, when it comes to polyandry, I tried as much as possible to look for an instance of this practice in the African ancient culture, but I wasn't able to find that much information. I'm still on the verge of searching, but the only information I could gather so far was that in Tibet, polygamy was practiced. In parts of India, in some parts of Brazil, and some parts of China as well, polyandry was part of the custom in the ancient times and still existing up until the present time in these areas. And in addition, so far, the only information I could gather from the African history of practice of polyandry is from Nigeria. Yes, Nigeria, my beloved country. So I found that in Nigeria, in the northern part of Nigeria actually, in a place called Jos, polyandry had existed for centuries on end, even up till the present dispensation. Yes, polyandry is still being practiced in a community called the Irigues. The Irigues are the tribes that I have found so far that still persist in the practice of polyandry. But because of this practice, the Irigwe community is being persecuted by the other communities. For their practice, they sometimes are killed, which is sad, really. And I say it's sad because it's unjust for that same country or the other communities to be allowed to practice polygamy in the aspect of polygyny, that is a man being allowed to have more than one wife. But when it comes to the other gender, that is the woman is not allowed to have more than one husband. It's unjust, because if it is allowed for the man, then it should be allowed for the woman. If not, then the practice of polygamy should be entirely wiped off for a fair system to persist. These are just my findings so far, but I would really like to take you on board on this discussion. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, do consider to do so by pressing that red button on the right hand corner of the video, and as well the notification bell, in order for you to receive notification whenever I upload new videos, so you can catch up with all the videos that come from this channel. All right, thank you. For polyandry, there are two types of polyandry that are found to be in existence. So one is the fraternal type of polyandry, and the other is the non-fraternal type of polyandry. I will not be discussing those two on this session, but on the next session we'll go into detail regarding these types of polyandry. But my take on this is, if this was permitted in the ancient times and it was in existence for probably millions of years, no one knows, why is that not being taken into consideration now? Why is it being condemned entirely when we have other types of marriages being allowed? Like, people are going into polygyny, people are going to bisexualism, homosexuals, and so many other types of marriages. It's being allowed these days, especially in the West. People can just take on any type of marriage, walk into the registry and get married. It's allowed. And with these types of marriages, it comes with a lot of pros and cons. Even the monogamous type of marriage that is being promoted all over the world right now, especially by the Christian religion, comes with its own cons. None of this type of marriages is void of disadvantages. They all have their disadvantages and their advantages. And I believe strongly that as humans, we should be able to table this out and discuss it, because it affects how we live here on earth, especially because it's got to do with our sexuality and how we live it out. It affects everyone. So a person who has chosen to be monogamous cannot be judgmental of the person who has chosen to be polygamous. Of course, relating with the other types of marriages that we have. What I find funny is when the one who chooses to be monogamous feels he or she is better than the one who is not, or believe that because he or she is monogamous and feels that's what God truly wants the marriage system to be like. It's not correct. It's not correct, because if monogamy is the correct form of marriage, that means people like Abraham in the Christian Bible, Isaac, David, and even Moses, God wouldn't have been able to relate with them at the level at which he did. So it is something worth thinking of. One thing I will leave you with, though, is that we are all created differently, and we all have different desires, different ways of living our lives, and some people are more sexually hype than others. And when it comes to polyandry, that system of marriage was practiced then for reasons of controlling the population. So when the woman marries the many husbands, those husbands are dedicated to the woman. By so doing, they end up not having many women procreating. That way, the population is decreased. It was just a system put in place to control the population. Depending on the goal of that system is disadvantageous when it comes to growth. With this, I say thank you very much for listening. Hope to catch you in the next one. Take care now. Bye.